Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. Last night, I started watching the election results, and throughout the night, it looked like everything was beginning to go downhill in terms of this election. So I decided, I'm not staying up all night watching these election results. So I turned on Netflix, and then after that, I went to bed. I woke up in the morning and I saw the news that Donald Trump was elected President of the United States. I was in complete shock and disbelief. I was outraged and disappointed. And for people who don't know, I didn't support Donald Trump, obviously, and I damn sure didn't support Hillary Clinton. I didn't support either one of the major party candidates. I voted for Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate. And before I decided to vote for her, I supported Bernie Sanders. And I said, Bernie or bust, and I made my word my bond. So I didn't vote for either one of the major political candidates, but I did exercise my right to vote. Our ancestors fought and died so that we could have a voice, so that we would be able to shape our destiny through our vote. So I exercised my right to vote, and I voted for Jill Stein. I did a video a while ago talking about 6 reasons why Donald Trump would lose this election. So like many of the pundits, many of the pollsters, I thought it was certain that Donald Trump would lose this election. So obviously I was surprised to see the result. Surprised and again deeply disappointed. Why was I disappointed? Because this man represents the worst in society. This man is a sexist. This man is a racist. This man is a bigot. This man has attacked every single group of Americans for the most part. This man has attacked the disabled. This man has attacked Mexican immigrants by calling them rapists and criminals. This man has attacked Muslims. This man has talked about banning Muslims from entering this country. This man has talked about monitoring mosques. This man has talked about the possibility of requiring Muslims to carry special identification. This man represents the worst in American society. This man is a scumbag. This man supports stop and frisk New York style. He supports racial profiling in black communities. When asked about the question of police brutality and trying to build and reestablish relationships between the police and the black community, this man talked about law and order. This man has pandered to the worst sentiments in society. This man's whole campaign was built on race baiting. His whole campaign was built on a new Southern strategy where they pander to the racists, where they use racial code words to turn out racist voters. That's what has happened here. And that's part of the reason why this man was successful. This man pretended to be concerned about the plight of working class people when this man is a millionaire, a billionaire. This man doesn't have any kind of track record of helping the working people of this country. This man's track record is contrary to that. This man has cost people their jobs. This man has failed to pay people that he's contracted with. This man brags and boasts about not paying his fair share in taxes, while working class people struggle to live day to day, check to check, paying their taxes. This man brags about getting away with not paying his taxes. The most racist elements of society support this guy, and that is not by coincidence. That is by design. A black church was burned the other day in Mississippi, and they put the words, vote Trump on that church. It's no coincidence. Some of the most racist and backwards and backwoods, redneck, no good crackers support this man. Again, that's not by coincidence. The KKK endorsed this man. That's not by coincidence. The KKK organization is nothing but a terrorist organization. An organization that terrified black people for decades. An organization that lynched black people, blew up black churches, shot black people, terrorized black people. That organization heaped praise upon this man. And they talked about how they respect this man because he's going to make America great again, which in their minds means make America white and Christian again. This is some serious stuff. And a lot of people just don't get it. They don't understand how devastating this election actually is. They don't understand the actual impact that this election will have because they are not knowledgeable about politics. They don't know what's going on. They are clueless, completely clueless. This man is going to appoint justices to the Supreme Court that can upset the complete balance of the court. Before this election, the court was already tilted towards the right. And then after Scalia, there was somewhat of a balance on the court. But now this court is going to go further and further to the right with the appointment of right-wing justices to that court. This man, Donald Trump, says that he wants to appoint justices like Justice Scalia, a man who openly opposed segments or sections of the Voting Rights Act, a man who helped strike down Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act. Now you have whole communities that are vulnerable to voter suppression. Whole communities because of justices like Scalia. A man who talked about how black people perhaps need to go to slower paced, slower track schools, suggesting that black people were less intelligent than white people. A man who openly opposes affirmative action, a program that made it possible for us to have an expanded black middle class. Those are the kind of justices you're going to have on the Supreme Court. So the progress that we have made as a people is going to be eroded under this President Trump. That's what's going to happen. People don't really get it yet. They're not going to get it for a while. A lot of these people that talk about not voting, these people that think that they are imparting words of wisdom when they say you shouldn't vote. These people are going to be the same people that are going to complain about decisions that Donald Trump makes while he's president. Like I said in my last video, these people need to shut the hell up. If you didn't try to vote, if you didn't try to voice your concerns through your vote, you don't have the right to speak about the problems with the government, about the problems with policy. These people just don't get it. I mean, you now have a Congress that's ruled by these right-wing Republicans. And they're going to push their right-wing agenda that's against your black ass. That's what they're going to do. People were complaining about how Obama didn't do this and how Obama didn't do that. Well, you're going to really have something to complain about now. This man's answer to police brutality is law and order. What kind of Justice Department are we going to have under Donald Trump? What kind of Justice Department are we going to have? Do you really think we're going to have a Justice Department that's concerned about police brutality or racial profiling? He couldn't give a damn about that stuff. So you're not going to have any kind of Justice Department going into these cities and investigating all these police brutality cases to the same degree that you had under President Obama. You're not going to have that now. You're not going to have someone using the Justice Department to enforce voting rights. You're not going to have someone in the Supreme Court defending and promoting affirmative action like the Obama administration did. You're not going to have any of that stuff. The progress that we have made is going to be eroded. And people are not going to get it until it's too late. But we shouldn't be surprised by any of this, really, in the big scheme of things. Because this is America, after all. This is a country that was founded on racism, by racists, for racists. That's what this country is about. And the fact that they voted for this man epitomizes that. This election proves that race trumps class, gender, and religion in this society. That's what it proves. That's exactly what it proves. Because here you have these poor white people, these working class white people, who have nothing in common with Donald Trump other than the pigment of their skin. That's all they have in common with him. But they are thinking race first. He is appealing to their racist sentiment. So they're going to vote for him, even though he hasn't done a damn thing for working class people in his 70-something years of life. Except for screw them over, exploit their labor, and profit off of them. But these fools think he's going to be some kind of savior for them. They are lost. And that's the whole problem. I mean, race trumps class in this society. People who should, if they had class consciousness, they would unite with other working class people of different races. But that racism trumps everything. It trumps common sense. It trumps their own interests as a class. So that's why you would see these people supporting this guy. White voters without college education supported Donald Trump overwhelmingly. 72% of white voters without college education supported Donald Trump, compared to 23% for Hillary Clinton. 23% of those white voters without college degrees supported Hillary Clinton. And then you would think that with this man's venomous, sexist attitude, you would think that a lot of women wouldn't support him. But again, race trumps everything in America. Race trumps gender in America. These white women, they identify with him as a white person before everything else. Before their gender issues, they see a white man and they identify with that. So despite the fact that this man is on tape bragging about sexually assaulting women, despite all the numerous disrespectful things that he has said about women, despite his disrespectful treatment of women, these women said, that doesn't matter. He is white and we're going to vote for him. So you had 53% of white women voting for this man, compared to 43% of white women voting for Hillary Clinton, a white woman. You would think that as a white woman, she would garner more support from white women, just based on that. So, again, race trumps everything. And I really think that this is a backlash against Obama and everything that he represents. That's what it is. And I'm going back to my point about America and the nature of America. This is nothing new. This is what America is about, racism. This country was founded on racism. This country was founded on the extermination of the native peoples. It was founded on the enslavement of black people while they were writing those beautiful words in the Declaration of Independence and in the Constitution. They were enslaving our people, brutalizing our people, oppressing our people. So this is nothing new. And the prime example of this, of what we're talking about here, is Reconstruction. After the Civil War, they began to rebuild, and there was what was called Reconstruction. You had black schools built. You had black people finally being able to hold public office. You had a lot of black Congress people shortly after slavery. Black people getting educated, black people making advances in life, because there was federal protection that made it possible for that to happen. And as soon as the federal government made a compromise with the South and pulled out from the South, all those gains were erased overnight. And that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the backlash against Obama. We're seeing a rebuke of Obama and of black people, period, and a rebuke of progress. That's what we're witnessing right now with the election of Donald Trump. They are expressing their white rage against black people. See, for a long time, for these past 8 years, we were lulled to sleep with a dream of America being more inclusive, a dream of America being more tolerant, because they put a biracial man in the White House and they put a black family in the White House. So that made people feel comfortable. That made people think that they actually were making some kind of progress. But all that has been erased overnight with the election of this man, Donald Trump. That is a clear message that they're saying, to hell with your progress. That's what it is. And it can never be underestimated. We will see the damage of this. We'll see the damage of this. But I just want to say that despite this huge fiasco, this disastrous election, it's not over. It's not the end of the world. This is not the apocalypse. We're going to do what we have always done as a people. Survive and fight for our freedom and our rights in this country. We made it through slavery. We made it through Jim Crow, and surely we can make it through 4 years with this pig in the White House. This Frankenstein monster in the White House. We'll be able to make it. I'm not going to say everything's going to be okay. It's going to be a challenge. And this should be a wake-up call for us. It should wake us up from this sense of phony inclusion, this sense of phony progress. This should be a call to arms, a call to action, a call to be more vigilant in our struggle for change in this country. That's what it should be. That's what it should be. And a lot of people want to play the blame game now. So what they want to do is they want to attack people like myself because I didn't support Hillary Clinton. They want to say, well, you are partly to blame for this result. Why are you upset since you didn't support Hillary Clinton anyway? That's what they want to say. Again, I didn't support any of these candidates, the major party candidates. I supported Jill Stein. But let's be clear. Let's be clear. Jill Stein received approximately 1% of the popular vote. That 1% didn't cause Hillary Clinton to lose this election. There's no scientific data to prove that point. To prove that Jill Stein cost this election. And if you really want to place blame about this situation, that blame belongs to Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee. It belongs to the Democratic Party for nominating Hillary Clinton, for nominating such a weak candidate with so much baggage. This woman has so much baggage, so much history. She's a woman who, despite running for office, despite holding office for years, despite being a public figure for all these years, there were still trust issues with this woman. The people did not trust her because they realized that she's phony and fake. She's a political chameleon who changes with her environment and she blows in the wind. Her only motivation, her core principle is power. And people can see right through her and they know it. This woman is robotic. She is not a lovable, likable person. And they know this. But yet they went forward with her anyway. They had a better candidate in Bernie Sanders. All the polls indicated that Bernie Sanders would do much better in this election against Donald Trump than Hillary Clinton would. But they ignored that and they put her forth anyway. And the whole WikiLeaks email situation just confirmed what everybody had been saying about this woman, that she is two-faced, that she has a public persona and a private persona. This woman wants to pretend like she's going to put Wall Street in check, but she's receiving checks from Wall Street for speeches. Checks for over $200,000 for a speech. That creates trust issues. And then when you have her team making all kinds of disrespectful comments about the very groups that she needs in order to win an election, making disrespectful comments about Latinos, describing them as needy Latinos. These are people on her campaign using such language, describing minorities as her firewall, talking about placating and pacifying black voters by appointing a few token Negroes to positions of power. All of this stuff just raised all kinds of questions about this woman. Here this woman is putting on this public persona like she cares about the environment. But when she's in private with these Wall Street people, she's bragging about how she supported fracking. All those emails did was confirm what everybody had been saying about her. And they hurt her. The FBI hurt her when they put out that letter to Congress talking about they're not finished with their investigation. Why didn't the Democrats nominate somebody that wasn't under an investigation? Somebody that didn't have all this baggage. Scandal surrounds the Clintons, much like how flies surround fecal matter on the ground. But this is the candidate that these Democrats put forth. The Democratic National Committee did everything that they could to sabotage a legitimate candidate that was truly concerned about the issues affecting all people in this country, affecting working class people, middle class people, poor people. They had a chance to elect a candidate, but they blew it by going with the establishment figure. Such a disastrous decision. So don't blame those of us who had the courage to vote our conscience for a candidate that really stood for issues that matter to the people. not the politically convenient candidate, not the candidate that had more name recognition. We stood on principle, and I am proud of my decision to vote third party. I'm a man of my word. I say my word is my bond and my bond is my life. That's what I said in college, and I stand behind that. And perhaps the Democratic Party will learn something from this. Perhaps the establishment will learn something from this. I'm so disgusted with the Democratic Party and how they conspired against Bernie Sanders. They put on this air like there was an actual primary going on when they did everything that they could to sabotage his election. So I hope that we have more progressive people that run for office. And I hope that these third parties continue to put pressure on these two major parties by running candidates on the local level, the state level, and the federal level. But this shouldn't be a time to despair. This should be a time for action. This is a time for action. We need to act with our vote, not just during the presidential election, but during every election, during all of our local elections. You can't complain about police brutality if you're not trying to elect a prosecutor in your city that cares about that issue. You can't complain about police brutality. You can't complain about it if you're not trying to elect a mayor that prioritizes that issue and other issues of importance to our community. Everything that affects your life is connected to politics in many ways. Politics and law governs all aspects of our lives. And for people to pretend like somehow they are disconnected from that system is absurd. As long as you live in America, you are affected by the laws passed in this country. So why not try to influence the process by electing candidates that support your interests? So those are my thoughts about this. All I have to say in conclusion is don't lose hope. Don't despair over this. Just continue to do what we've been doing, and that's fighting the power. Peace. And before I go, I want to address one last issue, and that's this. Often you hear a lot of these conspiracy theorists say the candidates are not elected, they're selected. And then they go into all this talk about the Electoral College. And the thing that I find odd is that a lot of these people that talk this stuff, they were predicting that the system had already selected Hillary Clinton. So for all intents and purposes, there is no actual election. She would just be selected, and they would give people the illusion of an election. But we see that that fell through last night. That idea that these people selected her and that the people had no impact or no say in the outcome. All of that was disproven last night. Because if the candidate of the system really was selected and there was no real actual election, Hillary Clinton would have won because Wall Street was behind Hillary Clinton. Wall Street supports her. The establishment supports her. You had Republicans coming out and supporting her. You had Democrats coming out, obviously, and supporting her. The whole Democratic establishment supported this woman. And then you had crossover Republican politicians profess to support this woman. Big industry supported this woman. And the evidence of that support is what happened on Wall Street with the announcement that Donald Trump won the election. The stock market went down. It plunged because Wall Street and the capitalists were displeased with that outcome. So if these people are all powerful and they select these candidates without the input of the people, then why wasn't Hillary Clinton selected? Why didn't she win the election? If that theory is so true. Because for all intents and purposes, Donald Trump ran against the establishment. The establishment opposed that man. And the fact of the matter is, people elected him. People came out to vote for him. He was able to motivate his base and get his voters out there, unlike Hillary Clinton. And I think that the main problem that I have with a lot of these conspiracy theories, they're rooted in self-defeat. They're rooted in surrender. They basically turn over all power to the white man. These people basically worship the white man as being all powerful, all seeing, all knowing, all scheming, in complete control of every single thing that happens. And they surrender their own ability to affect change in their own lives. And I think that that is a shame. Now is not the time for surrender. Now is not the time for speculation and unsubstantiated conspiracy theories. It's time for us to take control of our lives. It's time for us to wake up and get active. This should not be a time for mourning. Again, this should be a time for action.